Welcome back to episode 5 of the KLP Represent, where we break down battle-tested wisdom from generals, business giants, athletes, and of course, the Bible. I'm your host, Kelly Lawson, and today's episode, one that I'm fired up to share with you, is entitled No One Wins Alone, The Power of Team and Strategic Alliance. Let me start with this. Every king has a council. Every champion has a corner. Every empire was built by more than one person. Today we're diving into building your team, and knowing who to seek out might be one of the most important decisions you ever make. Whether you're leading a business, running a project, leading a family, building a podcast, or in the middle of life's boxing ring, it's your team that determines how far you go. This is what's inspired me for this episode's podcast. Was in the last week, I've had a lot of feedback from my peers, from my friends, from my circle, from my war room. And it's really nice because all of them have come and be like, you mind if I just kind of give you a little couple of pointers on the podcast? Talking about ways to improve. Lose this, forget the background that, stop with the dramatic effects of the first round. The first episodes, my old, boxing promoter announcer was kicking in, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. Cool. It's good to get that feedback. If I can get people laughing about it and talking and maybe telling a buddy, well then it's what they say about publicity. It's not bad, if you're getting attention. Segment 1, Solomon and the Power of Counsel. Solomon, the wisest man to walk the earth, never operated alone. His wisdom included the value of structure and delegation. Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with advisors, they succeed. Now, I know what the pessimists are saying out there. Wait, take your toxic mentality and go away. You need people to help you succeed. But back to Solomon, when you talk about, he set up the governors, the administrators, the officers. In Kings 4:1, it states, Solomon built a war room. Now, I thought that was just an Andrew Tate thing, that they just really did a good job with that. I didn't realize it's when you start reading the Bible and you start going through these different learnings and, because of this podcast, you start realizing how much people are taking terms that are going back thousands of years. So it's already intrinsically entrained in you to go, okay, war room, I can buy into that. If you have any kind of masculinity in you, you're definitely buying in. But even if you're on the feminine, what's nice is it's talking about that group, that positive group that motivates you, that's a little beyond us. And so Solomon talks about this, says, you might be a visionary, but without infrastructure, without people, your vision stays stuck on paper. That's so true. Hence me taking 10 years to do this podcast. I had it in my head. I have so many of these things I'm ready to run with that have been in my head stewing for the last decade, but I didn't have that person. I got to get the person. I got to get the person to cut the camera and do the editing and do the stuff that I didn't want to do so I can do the adventure. What I'm finally accepting that is if I at least won't buy into myself, how can I expect anybody else to? And if I'm not willing to do that extra 20 to 30 hours, truthfully, I didn't want it. It was one of those dreams I wish I could have, but you don't want to do the work for it. And so now that I'm starting to do this, what's happening is the war room is showing up. The journey, remember when we talk about it's our journey that we got to enjoy and we got to notice those moments. And that's why this episode triggered is talking about teamwork here. Is I've had a lot of good people come out of the woodworks, hit me up with improvements on the podcast. Everybody knows that you're watching me suck and get better. And also, for me, the hardest part is I just get burnout on editing. I can only see myself for so many hours before I'm like, send it, screw it, I'll just deal with the ramifications kind of thing. It won't be as good. We'll only have 20 views. You're not sending it to your friends because it's not hype enough for you guys to go, hey, it's actually pretty good. You can listen and it's entertaining, and he's got it down now to 30 to 45 minutes if it's just him hitting on a topic. We got to zero in on that stuff together. But this journey of team, of building a war room, to quote Solomon, this is something that, through this episode, and for the next little bit of our series, I've kind of got a structure, and one of that is segment 1, Bible, Segment 2, which is what we're about to transition to, is segment 2, military leadership, strength and unity. Picture Dwight D. Eisenhower. He led the Allied invasion in Normandy. It wasn't just troops and tanks. It was coordination, unity, strategy across nations, team building, leadership. There were so many. But building his war room, in his case, physically, and metaphorically, because he still had his people that were, they were all part of the cause. And leadership, Eisenhower said, is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. That's important. And that goes down to the job description. You hire somebody as an automotive technician, you'd hope they'd want to be an automotive technician. You don't know where they're at in their life journey, though. They may want to be an artist. Who knows? Same thing, you hire a sales guy and he turns up wanting to be, a mechanic. All right, you got to adjust. Got to find people that want to do what their job title is. I want to be the best mechanic I can be. You're hired. We can work with that trade. I'll train you. I'll do everything you can do. You want to stay focused in your lane. Awesome. As soon as you can come to terms with some things and understand that life is phaseable, you can go into the mastery of mechanic world and take 20 years of your life and carve that out, and maybe you get burnt out as your hobby or main gig. But you can choose any of these and go right from there and become a builder. A lot of these are transferable skill sets as well. And so when we talk about why we build our war rooms, and we build our war rooms about our current existence. So that current thing that you're doing right now, if I'm building a house, my current war room is going to be based on construction. It's going to be people that are talking about flooring and painting and drywall and all the steps involved, HVAC, plumbers, electricians, roofers, insulators. You can just run down the gambit of folks, and so that's your war room per project. That war room blows out even bigger. The one thing that I feel that most men don't have is the place where we can go and go, okay, I need a positive war room. I don't have it. I'm literally talking to it. And it's been cool because people are hitting me up and it's actually starting to manifest where guys are talking and we're at least BSing even if it's for an hour once a week when we didn't before. That's really cool because the war room is developing on its own. Back to the journey. This thing will develop itself out together. And so when you back to Eisenhower, it's like, okay, well, what is leadership? It's the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. Pretty good statement right there. If you can get those people to think from that perspective, you've won as a leader. Colin Powell, in a different perspective from Colin Powell, General Colin Powell, the day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you've stopped leading them. The takeaway, a strong leader invites feedback. They build trust. They create space for collaboration. Question that I wrote down here that I thought was kind of neat to dialogue about is just to give you a thought of a couple of different levels and layers. In your world, are people free to challenge you, offer insight, and contribute? Or are they quiet because they think you've got it all covered or fearful on how you're going to respond? That's a big one to think about, and that's on all levels. That's your little boy, little girl, your kids. That's your family, because oftentimes we treat those the worst. We're the most snippy with those. We just do not have a filter over our mouths because they're our family and they're not going to go anywhere. So the stuff that falls out of our mouth, you can't take back the way it's said. Are you received? Are they able to offer you insight without guilt? So if someone's trying to help you improve, is your first response to guilt them and reverse it back on them on how they're messed up? Shooting the messenger kind of thing. Are you viewing it from a perspective of they're the hypocrite? Are these toxic thoughts in your head? If they are, understand truly that is the devil speaking, one of his angels in the 10,000 I've spoken of, and I will continue to speak on so that you clearly understand when you hear that voice, and every one of us hear this from time to time, that voice of, well, but, oh, here we go, defending yourself. What are you defending? Your ego. Oh, yeah, your pride. Okay, oh, wait, your vanity. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait, did we just mention all demons that you are defending with anger? Are they free to say, hey, you need to stop drinking so much? Are they free to say, hey, honey, you need to lose some weight, you're fat? Maybe they don't have to deliver it like that. Understood. But are they at least able to say, hey, I'd like you to lose some weight and start showing some discipline and working out every morning and start doing this even when you don't want to and you're tired, without you flipping the script and turning on them? Toxicity. Accept responsibility right there, regardless of how rebellious you are about helping yourself. This is important right there when you have that feedback. Now, that blows all the way out. Now, as soon as you leave your home environment, usually you're not as bad. Some people are just truly that toxic that they literally take it out on their coworkers. That rolls right on into every human being in their existence. I've grown up with those people in my life. Nightmares of society, sociopaths. Okay? But then let's say they don't do that and they have a little bit of restraint. How are you dealing with your current work environment? Whether you're a construction crew, a superintendent, his foreman, and 5 or 6 carpenters, and you guys are building a $20 million project on a base, and you got subs and everything else working for you. As a superintendent, are people able to come to you, or are they just like, I ain't going in there, I'm getting yelled at? So how are we able to take that? So this is where the value of these podcasts come in, is we're trying to say, okay, how do we consistently better ourselves no matter what trade? This is the same thing in the automotive industry. This is the same thing for realtors. How do we respond and talk to each other? Do we keep that inside voice together? And then now, because we're talking about teams, how do we keep teams together? And that's seeking out people that are better than us, which shows humility of going, okay, this person sells more than me. What do you do that's different than me? I'm more focused than you. You're looking at Facebook and Twitter. I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace, buying other cars and flipping on the side just to create volume. Oh, that's why you do 35 cars a month and lead the dealership, and you literally make $500,000 a year. Yeah, correct. Okay. And are you willing to do the job? Same thing for the carpenters. What separates one financially from the other, assuming they don't make stupid mistakes? Are you around people better than you? Or are you seeking out knowledge that's pushing your level, which would be better in for this gross generalization of the word, okay? Because we're not getting into humanities. You could be a darn volunteer preacher, okay? I get it, all right? But what we're looking at is, how does that volunteer preacher build his team? And is his team in his world might be the Cardinals. Might be some rabbis over here, a little sprinkling of a Naaman. It doesn't matter. What is his circle and how are they bettering him, giving him deeper insight? That's his war room, okay? It can be any industry. You can't lie. Insurance, same thing. They all have to have it within the agents. We can go down any field, any industry. Does not matter your war room from professional. The part that I'm running into, with the exception of this podcast, I'm in my own world so much that my war room personally has shrank. And so I have my business war room, but I don't have my personal war room. The personal war room's the war room that, this is the one thing that I really would like to manifest somehow, is truly a man's club, a place where guys can go smoke a cigar, this kind of thing, but you can talk ideas, talk business, actually conduct, go back and forth, but they're hard to hold together. There's so much politics that just automatically, as soon as you add $1 into the equation, just jump up. So the management side, we're back into how do you actually keep a war room fully together. Ironically, minus the toxicity that sometimes comes out from the Tate brothers, that's a good manifestation right there. They're building a freaking pretty solid crew. I mean, they run pretty deep over there in their war rooms globally, of folks that are linked into their, whether it's the War Room University or whatever they call that, thing that they got all together. It's kind of hive-minding the same thing. Well, that's hard when you're just a dude from Fairbanks, Alaska. What's your war room look like? So in my case, what we're going to do for my answers is I'm going to be interviewing people. You're going to watch our war room grow, because you might be the one on that war room, on that interview, sharing your knowledge out to the people. We're going to build our own war room. And so as we go through topics, we expand our war room per topic or per project. Segment 3, business leadership, complementary partnership. Warren Buffett and his business partner, Charlie Munger, are perfect examples. Munger's thinking kept Buffett grounded. Buffett said it's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction. So if you're a guy that, and I'm not trying to bring this down upon myself, please, let's say you have some vices out there and you're trying to tune up, maybe seek out some folks that at least you perceive have less of those vices. Maybe they don't drink as much as you do, or they don't drink hardly at all, or maybe they don't drink if that's your thing. Maybe they don't smoke if that's your thing. Maybe they just like to stay active instead of just sit there and complain or watch sports at the house. Maybe they're out doing things. So if you need to lose weight, you might want to stop sitting at home watching sports all the time as much as it brings you pleasure. That pleasure is actually killing you. Another one of the demons, by the way, one of the 10,000. I wish I had names for them all. As I get better, they actually do have names, and I'll have them popped up, and I'll give you a heads up. I'll be like, hey, there's the dude right there. Look, see? And we'll look at the picture of the actual demon, the way they've manifested it and did the art and all that. Oh, yeah. I'll try to use ChatGPT for the image of the demon. Oh, yeah. We'll get cool with it if we can actually get that good where we know the names and go, okay, that one right there, here. That's lust. Boop. Everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's lust. I can see that. Sloth. Whoa. Steve Jobs had an ultimate partner, the Wozniak. Steve Jobs was the visionary. He could see the vision. He wanted to manifest the vision. Woz was the manifestation. He was the work ethic. He was the execution. He was the make it happen. You have to have those partnerships in your life. That's where a lot of times you have it good where maybe the wife is the driver and the husband is the true worker. As much as, the husband may want to be the driver and have some feelings of freedom that he can do his thing. A lot of times he needs the push because he might be lazy and just want to sit around and watch sports. Needs the push to be more productive, needs the push. So they drive. Well, it's the same thing with business partners. And business partnerships often fall apart because of a disalignment of values or priorities. So again, when you start going, okay, I want to own, let's say, laundromats, coin-operated laundromats, and I want to have a partner. Okay, well, what's the partnership look like? And then so how do we define it to make it work? You got to have strengths that are, you got to have complementary skill sets, and then you got to pick up where each other's weak. If you have a partner that's that way, your relationship will probably be a little stronger as long as you guys have figured out the monetary adjustment for those picking up where each other's weak. Ray Dalio, he built Bridgewater on radical transparency, where anyone, regardless of rank, was expected to challenge ideas. This is where I think we get a little free thinking and a little hippie, if you ask me. But there's some value here. Let's go with it. So again, who's sharpening your thinking? Who's spotting your blind spots? And so I understand in this standpoint of radical transparency where anyone, regardless of rank, was expected to challenge ideas. There's a time and a place for challenge. Because once we go operational, you really have to be flexible to be able to adjust to those challenges. Agreed. You can't be rigid. We've talked about that. Projects are fluid. Okay, so we got to be able to change. But you also can't be arguing the whole time. I have seen this happen so many times on construction projects with the government because you literally have 14 chiefs and like one Indian in the room. And that's about it. So you're almost analysis paralysis. This is where I say, it's good to, have some feedback in the right context, in the right area. Hey, these bolts are off. This is a quality control example. Hey, we noticed this was off. From an engineering standpoint, we should maybe get out ahead of that. I want to push back on this thinking on how we're going to run this project as far as, scheduling because of these needs. Roger that. That's bringing tremendous value to the equation. Questioning everything that goes out, you oftentimes don't have time for that. And at some point, you're just like, okay, of all the options, this is the plan we're going with. Are there better? Probably. Do we have time to figure it out and vet it? No. So you go operational and let the journey happen. It's like, if I wouldn't just start these podcasts and I wanted to wait for perfection, I still never would have put out the first one. And I wouldn't have learned a fraction of what I've learned by putting out stuff that I'm embarrassed to put out. But as my peers would say, it gave them great comedy laughing at me. I had one fellow who was leaned over at the side for quite a while. He couldn't believe how cheesy I was. And that was great. Yeah, he had to call me on that one. At least he didn't put me on blast on the whole world. That would have been hilarious. So that's a business leadership section, complementary partnerships. So as you're building out your team, your war room, what kind of complementary partnerships? And complementary isn't always agreeing. It's picking up where each other's weak. complimentary. Now, let's go to the ring. You know I love this game. And in boxing, no matter the heart of the fighter, it's the corner that brings strategy, stability, and sanity. Ali had Angelo Dundee. Mike Tyson had Cus D'Amato. They didn't just train them. They gave them confidence. They gave them vision. They gave them calm in the chaos. They gave them sight that they didn't see. You may be throwing punches every day, but who's watching your back? Who sees what you can't when the fight's messy? I've had so many times in life where, boxing you think is such an individual sport. It's so individual. It's just you. And no, it is not. Cut that magical little... The romantic version is the lone boxer with the hoodie running down the dark road with some smoke in the background, throwing punches. Yes, we do that. Yes, absolutely we do that, okay? But usually there's a group of guys with us, around us, or down the road. And in my case, I'm a loner. I do like to run alone a lot. When you start to go to the gym, that's where the magic of the team occurs. That's where you get that extra 20%, 30% that you may not have given that day unless you're the unicorn that can always find it every single day, no matter what, David Goggins. All right. The team is so important. The corners are so important. I've gone into training camps where, okay, this training camp, here's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on, just like when Joe Louis lost to Max Schmeling, his jab hand was down 2-3 inches, a little lower than it should have been. The overhand right came over the top, clocked him. When they went back, checked tape. He's saying the hand was down. It didn't take Joe Louis but a few minutes to go, why's my hand so low? The corner, yeah, we didn't have time to tell you. Too much was going on. That right there, the analysis of the corner and everybody, and it probably wasn't Joe Louis, it was probably the team. I'm being silly, but I would have caught it right away. I got my hands down. That's why I'm getting hit right there. So if my hand is up in the next fight, he's not hitting me with any of those shots now, and I'm countering with hooks. Or I'm drawing him in. I'm hitting him with uppercuts. I'm leading. I'm doing whatever I want because that punch just got removed. Instead of him throwing it 9 times in a round, he threw it 2, maybe 3. And they were easily blocked and countered. So then he doesn't throw it anymore. Different fight now. Totally different structure. How that occurred was in the training camp. Well, if you're not doing constant video work, which is nice to have the team, your war room, Pac-Man was known for this, Manny Pacquiao. He had quite a few people in the Diaz brothers. Gee, many Christmas. Those goons show up with 40 or 50 deep. They don't have a problem with the dude running a GoPro over here checking this angle and another dude checking that angle and another dude checking that angle. Man, we don't have it like that yet, but that's the value of the team. Pac-Man had Blue Boy, and that's exactly what they did. They ran film on him from the jump. And when he went over to Freddie Roach, they were doing the same thing. They're getting cameras on this side of the boxing ring. They're getting cameras on that side of the boxing ring. It's 2 totally different fights from different camera angles. You're seeing how he's getting extended over his knee. You're seeing all these little things. And it comes from the team systematically going, one guy's, okay, you're leaning forward. That's all that person's looking for. Then coach 2 is over here drawing it out, saying, okay, he's working with the left side of him while he's working. This guy over here is looking for balance and lean. This coach over here is looking for volume. Head coach is watching overall everything. And then you got the individual strategic sparring partners that are set up based on scenarios, what their value is, and they need to stay locked on. So you got a coach keeping them locked on, working their corners. A war room. That's what a real fight camp looks like. 4, 5 cats. That's why they say these fight camps go deep. You can drop $100,000, $200,000 on a fight camp pretty quick, and that's a 4 to 6 weeker. 6 to 8. You get into 8 weeks now, they think that's a long training camp, which is so asinine. That's a whole nother topic into itself, which I think is a load of crap, and we're going to get into that in future episodes, is what is the right training camp length, coach? Coach will tell you, if you're asking me that question, you need to go run tomorrow. And then go swimming in the afternoon. Then do some mountain climbing on a bike. Mountain climber. In the evening. Repeat. Talk to me in 6 months. And do your boxing too. That's incorporated. Your sprints are incorporated. All that's during the day incorporated in one of those 3 workouts. Or maybe you throw a 4th in there. Forge your vessel for 6 months and holler at your boy. Then we can do a 2-month, which is an 8-week training camp because you're already in peak conditioning. We've removed that from this war room. This war room doesn't want to vet that. This war room does not want to deal with that. People coming in going, I'm not in shape, so I got to spend all my time as a personal trainer and a coach. Oh, you can do it. Give me another 3 push-ups. Kiss my ass with that. We're talking strategy. Get up here. I need you to give me 75 punches. Full out as hard as you can give them, as fast as you can give them, every round if that's what we're working on today. And I got 8 bodies here to take it. This is what you're working on. This is what a war room does. They analyze, they break down, they help you, they motivate you, they get you better if you're already in shape to do that. But if I got to worry about getting your fat ass into shape, then you're wasting everybody's time from a coaching mental perspective. We're not tapping our skill set as coaches if I got to worry about your conditioning. So if you're an athlete and you're wanting to become Billy Badass, the next dude, first thing is that's you. That's where it starts off with you and your immediate circle of who motivates you to go swimming. Who motivates you to go run sprints those couple times a week? Who motivates you for sparring? Who motivates you for bag work that pushes you on competitive levels? And in what areas do you not need anybody to motivate you? This is as we figure it out together. This is the part of this leadership thing because we're leading our own things. That person's leading his own fight career. So we're just advising that, but you have to have the war room around it to advise it. In the fight game, that war room looks like managers, promoters, matchmakers, coaches, boxers and athletes, and then the worst of them all, the women that associate with all of it, demons, just everywhere circling all around the fight game. You have to have a shield that you better be grounded deep in the Bible and not care about going out and having a good time. If you can do that, we can make you a champion. You can be a champion, absolutely. But if you can't hold back that shielding from the devil and his 10,000, the fight game, the limelight, the attention of any industry is going to consume you. So we got to learn about it. And that's where the group, your war room, kicks in. Who's protecting you? Tyson. Look at his. They couldn't control that dude, okay? There was a peak, at his peak. He had a team of bodyguards, hundreds of thousands a month, that just circled him to keep him away from attacking everyone around him. Minus the Tysons. How to seek out the right people. It's not just about having people. It's about having the right people. Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, once said, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seats. That's pretty complex, right? Get the right people on the bus, get your good war room, which is strategic, where are you going, understanding that so we can build your war room, because if you don't have a clue of where you're going, you can't start putting people in the right places. The wrong people off the bus in the standpoint of it's easy to figure out who they are. Just try to do something positive. The ones that are talking negative, that's easy right there. Just circle that. So if you take a piece of paper and you write down and put a little circle around everybody that you know, just put it anywhere you want on the paper. It doesn't matter. A little exercise, fun for all. Write their name and put a circle around it. Write their name, put a circle around it. And you put that on a piece of paper. When you start saying you're wanting to do nice things and you say, hey man, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start working on this music thing. I'm going to start being disciplined. I ordered it from Amazon. I'm going to start building this. I've already decided. I'm going to commit. I'm going to put in this many hours a week, da-da-da. On that piece of paper, you're going to have a lot of those names you're going to hate. Put an X through them. Get the wrong people off the bus. You're done. Dismissed. Now, even when it's family, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seats. So how do you find the right ones? Be clear about what you need. A vague vision equals frustration. This is from a family level. This is from a team level. I've seen this so many times in families. Typically, the male is usually, I'm not saying all, but usually, like supposedly the leader, even though they may not be leaders, they're supposed to be by role the leader. And the family doesn't have a vision because maybe the gal is just as fine with the same level of mediocrity until she's not and wants to go on a vacation. Now the man has to have a life crisis because everything he's been doing has been just enough to survive instead of thrive. Okay, so there's where you look at it and say to yourself, okay, I have to have a clear vision of what we want. So starting at the most basic family level, That clear vision is, okay, what do we need to do here? We need to pay off these bills. Check. What's it look like? We got our numbers. We find out every single one of them. We prioritize. We dismiss ego, as painful as that is. Clear about what you need. A vague vision equals frustration from all relationships. Look for alignment, not just skill. Talent is common. Character, loyalty, that's rare. Alignment is alignment of the mission. That's where having the different war room for the different scenarios come into play, because if it's we're building a house, I want everyone that's building that house aligned and jacked up and jazzed that, hey, we're building a house. I don't want them to not want to build the house. That goes bad every time. Having alignment is very important. Having the right people aligned is even more important. Pursue wisdom in unexpected places. It's really, it is so true. You can find so much wisdom just randomly. So sometimes in life, you'll just be like, man, I need an answer. You're just reaching out, you're praying, you're walking around, you're thinking about it, you're obsessing it. Ironically, if you sit down in the park and the guy that just happens to sit there next to you, excuse me, got a moment? Huh? I got a question. And you just run a scenario by, the universe will grant you an answer that may illuminate you. So some places you might want to think about is that quiet neighbor that never talks, that old retired vet down the street. You might have the exact advice that you've been seeking out. Don't be afraid to ask. Most people are willing to help you. They're just waiting for the invite. That is so true. That is so true. Because to just assume and go help somebody, now I'm assuming I'm upsetting you. Thou shalt not embarrass or embitter. I run a high risk of that, which, by the way, this last week I failed. There's a scenario that came up that I willingly embittered based on ego, and it instantly blew up in my face. Instantly. I'd had enough. I was at my wit's end, and I snapped, and I made a comment that embittered. And again, when you stray from the path, in my case, instant punishment. And there it was. So I learned that. Don't be afraid to ask. Most people are waiting to help. They're just waiting for the invite, because you can't assume these people are just going to jump into your life and help you. You have to reach out. Hey, you want to spend some time with me and go have some tea? At lunchtime, go have some coffee. You want to go for a walk? Do something positive. Don't just go sit there and boo-hoo. They might just need a lending hand. So closing thoughts, build your war room. So I have a challenge for you for the week. Write down the top 5 people you turn to when life gets hard. And are they lifting you or limiting you? Who's missing from that list? Who do you need to seek out? My advice is, in relationships, don't wait. Book the lunch. Make the call. Kings have their counselors. Generals have their lieutenants. Champions have their corners. You need a war room. Thanks for tuning in to the KLP, Kelly Lawson Podcast. If this hit home, please subscribe, definitely leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. Share it with someone that might help out. Till next time, lead strong, fight smart, build your team together. Kelly Lawson, out.